What a beautiful audience. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will call our meeting to order.
Shaquille Ali,
Here.
Marie Brizuela,
Here.
Maybelle Manio,
Here.
Clayton Koo,
Here.
Manufo Leah Inga Anuai.
Here. Now we will have our Pledge of Allegiance.
The winners are going to come up.
We have our Lions Club.
Yes. The winners of the contest.
Our Lions Club
Come on.
winners.
The winners come up.
Come on up and lead us.
Just the first 3 words.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, board members will review the board meeting guidelines, and we will report on this at the end of our meeting. Thank you. Before we move on to approval of the agenda, I'd like to make a request to move item 7A. I'm sorry, 7A to 6A, and item 10F before 10E. So do we have a motion for approval of our agenda with those changes?
Is that before this one? You're saying put
Yes,
one before that?
it's to do the presentations,
What's the other one?
and then it's 10F
10F.
before 10E.
10F. Curriculum and adoption.
Curriculum, to have that before the LCAP.
Okay.
Said 10F before what?
10A.
Where's the LCAP at? On top of it, oh, we were looking for a number or letter. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Apologize for the confusion.
That's okay.
Does that work for everyone? If so, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have 2 seconds. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we will now have our special presentations. And this is the Daly City Host Lions Club 2018 Peace Poster Contest winners. And we're really excited. This is a highlight for us. It always happens at the end of our year, and we're really excited to celebrate the winners with you all. So welcome.
Denise Kelly.
Thank you very much for once again having us, allowing the children to participate in this contest. This is my 15th year of working with this contest, and I hope that we're able to do it for many more years to come. So this year, unfortunately, we only had 3 schools participate. There was a lot going on in the fall. And next year, we hope to be able to go back to the original 7 and just make this presentation just a little bit longer for you next year. So I am Lion Denise Kelly. I am the secretary of the Daly City Host Lions. With me tonight to help with our presentation is our president, Don Fleming, and one of our newest Lions, Sandy Lineberger, who I'm sure is familiar to most of you as the school nurse responsible for getting the Lions Club involved in all the vision screening. So we thank her very much for that. So what we'd like to do is start and let you know that, as you can see from the pictures that we provided, the theme this year was Kindness Matters. And in today's world, that is a very, very important theme. And our winners did their very best to grasp the concept, and some did very, very well. So I'd like to start with Benjamin Franklin Intermediate School. Don and Sandy, if you'll. It's on the end. There we go. So our first place winner is John Magtag, and his poster is this one, the one that was up a little earlier. And he gets a gift certificate, a plaque, and a certificate. So John? Over there. And we also have a picture of that for you.
Thank you.
For your scrapbook. Thank you. Our second place winner is Alexis Cadicio, and I probably pronounced that incorrectly.
All right.
So she's getting a certificate and a copy of her poster. Thank you very much. Our third place winner, is Andrea Hernandez. Did she come? She didn't make it. So we will present this to you. From Fernando Rivera, there's also a certificate there for the school in appreciation. So from Fernando Rivera, our first place winner is Alfonso Verde Garcia.
That's so cute.
And he's getting a gift card, a certificate, and a plaque, and a copy of his poster. Thank you. Second place is Valerie Lynn. And as you can see from this artwork, these kids are pretty remarkable. And third place is Matea Cava. Thank you, very creative. From Holy Angels School, we have Jadine Aguilar. Over here. Second place is Princess Cantelier. And third place is Hillary, I can't read my own handwriting, Jimenez. So our first place winners are going on to our district contest, which will be judged on Saturday, and that's all the clubs in San Francisco, San Mateo County, and Palo Alto. So we're hopeful. We think that one or two may move on. So thank you very much again, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
The board has some certificates to give out as well, but I didn't know if any of the board wanted to comment on this wonderful celebration of our artists.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the Lions Club for sponsoring this once again. 15 years is quite a long time. I want to commend the students for their beautiful artwork and the symbols that they put there, and hopefully we can internalize that and turn it into action, and keep up the great work.
I also like to thank the Lions Club for putting on this wonderful event year after year, and also for all the things that they do for eyesight and for getting glasses for the children and things like that, and testing them. So they do a lot of good work, and let's give them a big applause. And for the students, your artwork is wonderful and beautiful and meaningful. So I hope that you will keep those copies at home, whether you put them on the wall or in a scrapbook or whatever. And years down the road, look back and say, wow, I did that. And I know you'll do even better as years go by. So thank you, and to the parents for bringing them out tonight, because I know it's hard. It's during the week, lots of other things going on. But thanks for coming and sharing this wonderful evening. Thank you.
I share the same sentiment as Trustee Bruzuela as well. I want to commend and thank the Lions Club for coming out and all of the students' work and the parents that brought them here. I thought the artwork was amazing and beyond a child's, kind of understanding of what the theme is. I thought that was really important and valuable. So thank you to you all.
I want to echo the comments of my colleagues and just thank the Lions Club and all of the students who participated as well as the winners. I just feel that the theme this year especially is pretty pertinent to a lot of what's going around the country, around the world. So just want to say thank you very much for everybody who participated.
Thank you all again, and we'd like to also present some certificates to our artists to celebrate their wonderful talents. And thank you so much to our Lions Club. I mean, you do so much more than is mentioned here, and we hope that you will add another 15 years to the wonderful service and commitment and dedication, and also to your newest addition, which is also a team member of ours. So we commend and applaud all of your efforts. Thank you so much.
Certificate of recognition for J.D. Agnew. And I have another certificate for Princess Antoinette.
Certificate of recognition for John Dwayne Martin. And certificate of recognition for Alexa Galacio.
Certificates here. I think most of them all have two. One is for the flag ceremony for participating, and also for participating and achieving the award of Ben Franklin for the art contest. So this is Andrea Hernandez Romero. Did I pronounce your first name correctly? Is it Andrea or Andrea? She's not here. Oh, she's not here. Okay. You got it right. I got it. No, because I have an Andrea. I have an Andrea at home, and I know it's pronounced different ways. So the next one Commander Rivera, Alfonso Verde Garcia. You have also both for the flag ceremony and for participating in the contest. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You have here a certificate of recognition and a certificate of appreciation for Hillary Jimenez. That's next meeting. We reorganize.
No.
Had to get some humor in there, right?
Oh, dear.
All right. Thank you again, and congratulations to the family and parents that are joining us this evening as well. Right now, we will move on to our communications, and I'm sorry, that's right. We changed that. I apologize. I'm rushing through. We are now reverting back to number 6, which we changed at the beginning of our meeting, and that is our public hearing, and that is Governing Board's appointment to the Personnel Commission, and the Governing Board of the Jefferson Elementary School District will hear public comments on the qualifications of the person recommended by the Governing Board for appointment to the Personnel Commission. At the October 24th meeting, Mr. Ron Appel was announced as the intended appointee for a 3-year term beginning December 1st, 2018. So at this time, it is 7:19, and we will open for public hearing and public comment on this topic. We don't have any cards. I don't know if there's any other comment from any of the board trustees.
Is there something for us to discuss it now?
I'm sorry. After, sorry.
Oh, another item.
Yeah, sorry. So right now, we don't have any, we do not have any public comment cards, so we will close our public hearing at 7:20 p.m. All right. Okay. So we will move on to, we will move on to our communications. And we have, at this time, board member acknowledgements and or commendations. And we will start with Vice President Koo.
I just want to commend one event I attended since our last meeting. It was the Fall Festival at Garden Village Elementary School. It was a great event. I think as the day went on, actually, it got actually bigger in size. I think there were at least a couple hundred people there, so I just want to commend everybody for that. I also realized that next week is Thanksgiving, so I just want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving, since we won't see you guys until close to Christmas. So, yep, just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you.
I also want to wish everyone else a happy Thanksgiving or happy holiday, whatever you celebrate next week. I went to a PTA meeting that went really well, and things are being addressed that need to be addressed at those meetings, so good for them.
Thank you. Trustee Brusuela.
Let's see. I did attend, I think, did I already say this before? I attended the PTA meeting over at Thomas Edison, and theirs is not a PTA, but a PTO. And they did a wonderful job, and it was really nice to see what they were doing, and the money that they were raising for the school did a great job. So it was nice to know that, you know, we want them to know that we care about them as well, and support them too. So it was great. Other than I'm trying to think of what was happening. I just want to thank everybody for the kind wishes for supporting my husband. He's been quite ill. He's now in rehab and starting to show some improvement, so we're really happy about that. But he had quite a battle. So thank you for all the prayers and good wishes that we had. It means a lot. So I think that is it as far as what I can think of. Go ahead. Oh, should we say anything about the election or no?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. We don't say anything about the election yet because it's not over. It's not over yet.
If you have any commendations or comments.
You're the first one to say it. You didn't say it. Just thank anybody for the election. No? Never mind. It's okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
Trustee Ali?
All right. I just want to commend and acknowledge my colleagues that are still on the board with us tonight, Ms. Brizuela, Ms. Koo, and Ms. Manio. I'm not sure if that's what you wanted to, but I'll take the honor. So, yeah, so you're still here. Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you again. Keep up the great work, as I always say to everyone that does good work. And thanks for everyone else that's out here tonight as well.
I got to attend with Ms. McCulloch a Big Lift meeting at our second home, and also with Ms. Pace. It's wonderful to see the turnout. Yeah, I was appreciating the turnout and hearing the stories of the families that were able to sit at the table with us, and especially as we kick off, a season of gratitude. It was nice to hear about positive transitions and how these families came from San Francisco and now are students and families of our district, and had a lot of positive feedback. So that was good to hear, and to hear of the impact of Big Lift in our community, because we were the first recipient. I love that we set the tone and that we continue to celebrate the growth of Big Lift for our families that we serve here in our district. So that was a great meeting for me. And, I too want to congratulate our colleagues who are with us and continuing in this work. It's all about service, and it's all about service, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to vote, and the privilege and the right that we have. So those of you that got to get to the polls, I have friends and family who don't feel like they should be doing that anymore because of the current state of our country. But I think it's something to celebrate, that we can still go to the polls and vote for somebody or something that we believe in. So that I celebrate, and I applaud everyone who's given me the opportunity to make sure that I can do that every year and every time. So congratulations again. I wish you all continued strength and positive vibes to do this work, and appreciate being able to sit here with you all. And now we have correspondence from our superintendent.
So as you know, we've had about a little bit over a week of smoky days in our school district. We have a new term now. It's called Smoky Day Schedule. It's like a rainy day schedule, but it's not rain. We stay inside, we try to reduce our physical activity, just so we can not have as many particles entering so deeply into our lungs. So we're continuing to monitor that, working with the County Office of Education, see if there are any other precautions and practices we can take into account. Also, yes, congratulations to Mr. Koo and Ms. Brizuela for being reelected, and Ms. Manio for newly elected, first-time election winner. We think, we hope, we believe. There's still over 150,000 ballots in San Mateo County yet to be counted, and I anticipate you guys will continue to maintain your leads, as will Measure U, that passed overwhelmingly with 65%, and needing only 55%. So the voters are very much in support of our message of improving the safety in our schools, and we will do our best to fulfill that mandate. Just a little announcement. I get an opportunity to wake up early on Saturday morning and join San Mateo County School Board Association and be on a superintendent panel for newly elected board members. So if there's any advice you think I need to pass on, please let me know. I'd be happy to do that. I've never been a newly elected board member, but try to provide a superintendent's perspective on that role. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator comments?
Well, I'm pretty much echoing what everybody else has said, but I want to start out by saying the pictures were lovely, and we can all use some peace these days with the shootings that are going on and the fires. And my heart goes out to, I'm sure all of our hearts go out to all the people who lost their homes, their lives, loved ones, pets. Also, I want to say about voting, it is so important. And for those of you that don't think your vote counts, keep in mind that there are some states that their votes are so close that they have to recount. Your vote counts, and it's really important, because if we don't vote, we may end up with what we don't want. And I want to congratulate everybody here, and also thank the public for supporting Measure U, which will help our community, and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you. So at this time, I'm sorry, Ms. McCulloch. I am so sorry. How could I forget you? I was admiring.
Just a couple of things. I was fortunate enough to attend a conference a few weeks back. It's called the ABC Labor Management Meeting down at Buena Park with my colleagues, both from AFT and CSCA. It was the first time we had representatives from CSCA join us, Wes Cole from FDR and Jose Norris from the Maintenance Department. It was a really good opportunity to talk about how to work collaboratively and help advance that communication, that conversation that needs to take place locally at school sites. So it was a good next step for us. Also, I just wanted to mention that there was a letter I received from a member of the public regarding the appointment of the commissioner that was placed in each of your folders for your review. Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to inform you about a new opportunity that we are piloting, where we want to try to increase our enrollment, and one way to do that is to advertise for our Countdown to Kindergarten event. And so we have an ad at the movie theater, and it's 15 seconds, and if you'll indulge me, I was going to play it for you today, so that you can see what's being played. It'll be in the theater, in every theater, every movie, from now until the event, which is the end of January. We figured at the Century Theaters in Daly City. We figure with the holidays, we'll catch some of those families that maybe don't know about our district, so to try to increase enrollment. So I'll share it with you right now.
Good job.
I don't receive any credit for that, because this was actually, we went to Fernando Rivera's yearbook class, and we asked them to create one, and so this was the winning movie ad. So this actually comes from our students as well.
Nice.
Thank you. That's cool that you're advertising it and that our students created it. Yeah. Awesome. So right now we are moving on to persons wishing to address the board, and this portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. And I have 2 speaker cards here. And the first is from Vincent M. Wallace, a retired employee, and his topic is informing the board about maintenance department and why you retired. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, board. My name is Vincent Wallace, CSEA Chapter 233, with the district, recent retired, 38 years now. My original plan was to stay for at least 2 more years. And unfortunately, my plans changed at a cost, a portion of my pension. In my son's second year on the work crew, with no previous incidents was told he was done after a doctor's appointment, which was documented, and called in sick for the remaining 3 hours of the day. He was fired. And not cool. So we went, my family and I, my wife and son and I, went to the district office to see what the policy was about the district firing employees that are part-time, and to speak with Brent, who wasn't available. Later, when Brent arrived, he supported Bill Heath's decision. 1 week later, when I went to inform Brent that I was retiring, and he informed me the day that we were at the district office, he stayed away on purpose because of the high emotion of, and this was his words, of the situation. That is the support I get from the district office. 38 years with the district. I started when I was 18. This is a long time of my adult life, all of my adult life, and out the window early because of the unrest and maintenance. Early August, I put in for, and that was on the second day of a 2-day vacation when he did that. Early August, I put in for 2 days of vacation for August 31st and September 4th. The week before those dates, I was told it was denied. I had already paid for a reservation and had an appointment in CalPERS on the 4th. Rudy's 2 minutes are going to be given to me as well.
Can we let him speak, please?
I just want to mention that generally we are not allowed to do extended or have someone else donate their time, but I will say we do want to hear what you have to say, so we will allow you.
Okay, thank you. I still took the days using personal necessity and was wrote up and docked 2 days' pay. Since then, every moment I took for sick leave, I was docked. My parting gift was from the district was to be docked 41.5 hours and allowed to leave 4 days early using vacation and floating holidays. On another occasion, we were told to wear our bright vests for 1 week at all school sites. I later found out the reason was because of a threat, which we were not told of at the time. When I spoke with my supervisor and said he should have told us, he replied that I should have called in sick that day. I wasn't informed what day it was going to be, so how could I have? I would not have, and I told him that. In addition, there was a TB scare at one of the schools. The entire staff and all custodian district-wide were tested while maintenance was not even informed or given the option. I guess our lives don't matter. We come in contact with the school and the individual that it was false, but we still come in contact with them and we're not informed. I guess our lives, maintenance, doesn't matter to the district. This is still a union, and I fear for my brothers who are still working here. I gave 38 years of my life, and let me tell you, when I left the maintenance yard that day, my last day, I left in tears because the sadness that I had because I'm leaving because of one man. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. As I mentioned earlier, we are not able to respond on items that are shared during this time. The only thing I do want to say is that your voice has been heard, and you definitely, are addressing the board here as well as the administrators. So I thank you for your passion and your service to our community and to our district.
Thank you. I will be enjoying my retirement.
So the second speaker card, as mentioned, has been donated. His time was donated to Mr. Wallace's comments. And do we have any other speaker cards at this time? Thank you. At this time, we will move on to general functions. And we are now looking at consent agenda. And the administration recommends approval of the start items of our agenda at this time. So we're asking if there are any issues or concerns or comments about anything on the consent agenda, and if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Ms. Manio, Mr. Ku,
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai.
Aye. Thank you. At this time, we will now look at the Governing Board's appointment to the Personnel Commission. And the Governing Board will take action to name Mr. Ron Appel as its appointee to the JESD's Personnel Commission for the three-year term beginning on December 1st, 2018. On October 24th, the Governing Board announced Mr. Appel as its intended appointee. We are now open for discussion on this item. If there are any comments, and if not, the floor is open for a motion, but if we have comments, we can share them at this time.
I would like to see us postpone this for several reasons, but I don't think we have to do it at this meeting. I have some concerns, and I know it's not on the agenda for me to speak about some of the concerns, but we did talk about it at the last meeting. So I talked to Bernie and I asked that we have a meeting so we can discuss some of the issues that are happening, and we heard one of them tonight, because we want to set the tone for how we can meet with the Personnel Commission and meet with you guys the way we're supposed to do it. We got something in our packet, but that's not exactly what we want. What it is, we're supposed to have a meeting so we can be sure that our commission and the board are working well together and that what's happening. And after tonight, now I more than ever would like to postpone this until another month or so, until we can have a meeting with the commission and we can come together on what expectation is for what you guys are doing, what we expect together as a team. And we have never had that in so many years, but they used to do it, and we don't do it. The report that's given to us is just a report with numbers and stuff. It is not an opportunity for us to get together and be a team, so we can support you and you can support us. So I would like to ask if the board would postpone this action on this, and I do feel that you haven't had a chance, our president hasn't had a chance to be able to sit in on the interview as well. And I think that was probably important. So if you agree with that, let's move it to put it off about at least a month until we can get a meeting together. Because I'm pretty passionate about classified personnel, and I think people know that very much. I would like to see it work for everybody, no matter what.
Thank you, Trustee Brizuela. I have a comment, but I'd like to see if any other of the colleagues on the board have anything to contribute to this. No? Unfortunately, I was not at the meeting. However, with technology, I was able to catch up on what had transpired at the last meeting. What I am hearing from Trustee Brizuela are two different things. One is that we do need to identify any issues of collaborations. I agree with that, but I do see that as a separate issue. I think what we should take action on tonight is whether we are going to move forward with the appointment and or if someone will second and support Trustee Brizuela's motion to postpone this, because we do need to vote on this and we should have a roll call. So is there a motion to
Can I just make the reason why?
Sure.
So maybe it'll be understandable. At the day that we had the interviews, Mr. Appel had made comments that our district was the best, we had no problems, and that everything is going wonderful. And I hear differently, and I think we heard part of it tonight. And I think that we need to take care of that, because if it's an illusion that he feels everything is perfect when it's not, let's try to fix it. And let's see that I can feel confident that I can say, yes, Mr. Appel, you can do this. But over and over, if you listen to that transcript, it was, we're the best, we have no problems, we're this, we're that, and this. but we're not. And we need to work towards making our classified employees feel that they're valued and wanted. And tonight was an example. And it's more than that because it's out there. So I'm just saying, I want to make it work so we can feel confident that this appointee is going to be able to carry over and be sure that everybody is treated fairly. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying no forever. I'm just saying, let's give us a chance, sit down and make something work.
Madam President, I want to say that we are the best. We don't have to be perfect to be the best. That's just my opinion on that. And I also agree with President about this being two separate issues. I think that we already made the recommendation. That's why we're here tonight, to move forward with the action. And I feel a little bit caught by surprise by this. I don't think that we should slow down the election based on a grievance that someone has. Mr. Appel he's not the superintendent, he's not on the board, he's on the Personnel Commission, so he doesn't have that power that you want him to have. And as far as collaboration, we don't need that meeting. It would be nice, but I'm happy with the yearly report.
Well, can I respond to what you just said? The commission's role is to be able to hear issues like this at a time when they can make a difference. And so far, I haven't seen that. And that was a question that was asked at the interviews, was how many things did you sit on in defense of a classified employee? And the answer was none. So I'm just saying, I myself served on the commission, and I know that there were times when the employees would come to us, and it was important that they have the final say, by the way, over the board when it comes to something of a grievance. And that's not happening.
We have the final say.
No, sorry. The Personnel Commission has the final say. If the board or the superintendent makes and has something to do with the employees, and they go and they have a hearing with the Personnel Commission, their decision is final, and that's because nobody understands the merit system. Am I correct? Do you know that? Huh? Oh, no, I know, but as the director, as the director, that's something I would hope that you guys would understand, that it's important. It's the one thing that classified employees have to their benefit. It's not civil service. Civil service doesn't have it. The merit system has it. And I know because I was there when I saw an employee was able to be heard and their position was saved. So it is there.
I want to say thank you for the passion that's being displayed here, because I know that what we're looking at is to make a good decision. And in my opinion, it would be an injustice for me to say that I don't have confidence on the fact that I was not present at the meeting on the 24th. It says here on October 24th, the governing board announced its intended appointee. So what I do want to come back and ask, there is a motion on the floor. Do we have a second to postpone it? And if not, then we need to move forward. But she has put a motion on the table right now.
Can I hear the motion in its entirety, please?
Postpone it.
I just ask that we postpone it until we can meet with the commission. And really, I mean, now it's even more so because I'm seeing that perhaps our director of personnel is not aware of what the benefits for the employees. So if they're not going to get that information, then we need to do something about notifying and getting together, and let's all be on the same page, because we're not. And that's all I'm saying. And so how can we make an appointment to someone that doesn't believe that that is correct?
The motion is to postpone
the appointment.
The appointment, just postpone it.
That's it.
I'm not saying you throw it out. I'm saying to postpone it till we can meet and get everybody on the same page as to what the role is of the commission, of the commissioners. What is the role of the director when it comes to commissioners, to
It's
classified.
starting to sound like somewhat micromanagement.
No, it's not.
It's starting to sound like it.
So as I mentioned before, there are two different things happening, unless I'm misunderstanding. I think there's the motion to postpone the appointment of Mr. Appel. With regards to us collaborating and learning more about the Personnel Commission and its role, I can say that I agree with that. There's always room to learn and improvement, especially since there's some need for clarification. However, those are two separate issues. There are two separate issues. And I'd like to say, with regards to collaboration, I'd like to make a request to table that, because that has nothing to do at this time on the appointment. Again, do we have a second to Trustee Brusuela? And if not, then we need to move forward with the appointment.
I'll second it.
We have a second. We need roll call, or does anybody have any issues moving forward? Because we would love to have a unanimous vote, but we have to do the right thing and we have to move forward with the vote.
So before the board votes, I agree that it would be helpful to everybody involved to have clarification of roles and responsibilities between the board and the Personnel Commission. Again, that's not at issue today. That's not on the agenda. However, it would be great to have a full Personnel Commission present and named for that meeting to take place. We can't hold it hostage to having this meeting. We won't have a complete Personnel Commission. The board won't have its appointee on the commission. It will still be some folks who possibly may not have been informed of what transpired. So I would say that, yes, it's a great idea to have a time to clarify roles, responsibilities, and understandings of what different parts of the district and the classified service do. And I agree with the President that they are separate issues and not necessarily one before the other, except that it'd be nice to have a full Personnel Commission present at such a meeting.
That's why I asked to have the meeting within this next month, before.
Yeah.
The appointment doesn't take place till January, is that correct?
No, it's December 1st, as stated in the item.
December 1st?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we've known it's December 1st since September. So I would say that, I was waiting for the appointment of a new president to schedule that meeting, because November and December are very difficult to find meeting dates. And we would schedule something for the January and February months.
So thank you for sharing that. There will be a change of hats at the next meeting, so that will not be scheduled under my seating, but we do have a second on the floor. And I just want us to be mindful, and we may not always agree on things, but all I ask is that we remain respectful of the process and of each other at the end of the day. So we have a second, and I'd like to ask for roll call, unless we have any other motions. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mrs. Brusuela?
What's the motion?
Is to move forward with, we didn't get a second. We're moving.
Oh,
We did get a second.
You mean to hold off?
Yes.
Oh, you're seconding to hold off, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the motion that's on the table.
That's the motion. It's, you second her, so we're voting on it.
I vote aye, since there's at least two of us that want to slow it down, then I'm not going to rush it.
So, aye.
Ms. Manio?
Aye.
Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anuai?
It is an aye.
Thank you.
For my own preparation, it'd be nice if board members can get to me questions and information that they would like prior to being able to vote on this again. And again, my preference is that we have a full Personnel Commission available for that study session, so we will probably need to do it with a partial commission.
Bernie, could you repeat that, because I really had a hard time hearing you.
No, I'm just saying that we will schedule that joint meeting with the partial commission without the board's appointee present at the time, since that's a condition of being able to make your appointment. So we'll table that until that meeting is conducted.
Thank you. And I just want to say we appreciate your commitment to serve and your patience as we go through the process of this. We appreciate it. At this time, we have a presentation on our housing project from Mr. Rick Kramer, which will provide an update on the faculty staff housing project.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks again for entrusting our firm with your project. I'd like to congratulate you on passing your general obligation bond. I was asked during the interview what I thought the most difficult part of this project would be. The biggest challenge, in like any development project, is to make sure it makes sense financially. So with the ability to provide district financing, in addition to some form of loan on this project, you can pretty much make the financial advantages of rentals to your teachers, whatever you really want it to be. You just need to make some decisions about how much financing you would like to use, district financing, plus explore some of the options with the a loan. You may choose to do something different with that option as well. So let's proceed. Topics we're going to discuss, we'll look at the project site, the project scope, a concept for that scope. We're going to talk a little bit about conventional versus modular construction and the pros and cons of that. We did develop a pro forma model and project budget. We'll briefly discuss that, talk about the project timeline, next steps, and then whatever questions you may have. So this is the project site. It's the MP Brown campus. The district contracted with EHP in 2017, and they put together this report in January that they presented. I'm not sure how much of that report you saw, but basically what they proposed is to parcel off a 4-acre subdivision, of which a little over 2 1/3 acres would be developable. And we also met with the City Economic and Community Development, I guess 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, to confirm some of the assumptions that EHP had and discuss them in a little more detail, so that was very helpful. This is, we're going to talk about project scope in the next 2 slides. I've got the same drawing on both slides, but the goal is to provide rents at 30% or more below market cost to your staff. Obtain city approval for up to 58 staff apartment units, residential low density. General plan amendment would be required. Right now it's PF, which is public facilities, so that does require a change to the general plan, as well as a change to residential zoning. R3 zoning would be multifamily zoning, would allow you to put up to 14.5 units per acre on the site. And if you recall back up here, the 4-acre gross subdivision, that would give us 58 units potential at 14.5 units per acre. So so right now is construct 48 apartments initially, and this would give you an opportunity to expand it with 10 more units in the future if it's an overwhelming success and you choose to do so. This concept's a little different from the EHP plan. For those of you who've seen that, I noticed some issues with that. So I basically did a concept here that was a little more condensed which would enable it to be more efficient, which equates to less expensive. And that plan also had underground parking, which is extremely expensive. And you certainly have enough space here to accommodate all the parking you need on the surface, call it surface parking. We need 2 apartments per 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units and 1 parking space. 2 parking spaces for each 2- and 3-bedroom unit and 1 parking space for the 1-bedroom units.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes, sir.
Is there a difference in the cost if we choose to not do the 10-unit expansion, or what?
Yeah, so basically, we'll show that on the slide.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, it's in our pro forma. The additional, I didn't grab the copy of that,
Yeah.
We can pretend.
Oh, gosh.
It'd be about $4 million more to build 10 more units. One other point, preserve open space for co-use. The EHP plan pretty much consumed the entire 4-acre site. And so what we would be able to do is preserve some open space for the school use. And I believe we can also preserve the playground there, perhaps improve it instead of move it. But these are all decisions that will need to be made once we get a design team on board.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes, sir.
In your plan, is there a physical barrier between the housing and the school, or?
There could be a fence. It's really yet to be determined whether or not you want that.
I think so, don't you? Something.
All right, let's talk about the difference between conventional construction and modular construction. And this is a decision that you guys will need to make relatively soon, because it really dictates the process that we follow for hiring a design team. Conventional construction, basically all the materials, building materials are shipped to the site in their standard lengths. They're cut by the trade people and assembled on site, okay? And basically there's a picture of an apartment building under construction and a picture of a couple site-built conventional construction apartment buildings here. You can see that there's a lot of character to them, which is easily done with conventional construction. Advantages of conventional construction, highly customizable designs possible, flexible floor plans for your apartments. Most architects and contractors know how to build conventionally, which means there'd be more availability of contractors. The design and public contracting process is much simpler. We're using public funds, so we have to follow public contract code and rules. Modifications and corrections are more discoverable and easier to make in the field than with modular processes. Disadvantage, under normal building environments, conventional construction is more expensive than modular construction. We'll talk about that a little more here. More construction waste than modular processes. You cut materials and you got scraps, and you haul those off. They do a little better job of that with modular in the factory. Longer construction duration than modular building. If the mods are being built in the factory, that happens simultaneously with while we're doing site work out here. And so they just basically show up and get set in place. Longer duration of framing noise than modular building. We've got a video here we'll show you of a modular going up. So be a little more self-explanatory. This picture is from the Gurdon plant in Idaho. You can see they're actually building apartment units indoors. And they're delivered to the site on trucks, and kind of like Legos, they're put together. The buildings go up in a hurry. Once the modules are set in place, they're fastened and roofs are added, and then all the exterior finishes are applied. And connections and utilities are connected up inside the buildings. Quality, it can be just as good as conventional construction. Anything that needs to be shipped down the road on a flatbed truck better be built pretty good to withstand that. This is a picture of the, I gotta pronounce this right, the Maria Alta apartment complex in San Leandro, which we visited last week. And we'll come back to this photo here in a second. This is the video of that. I'm not sure how to start that.
So this location is right across the street from the San Leandro BART. So you see the BART train there, tracks in the background.
Now this first part, they're building an underground parking garage, and that's all site built, very expensive. Now you'll see the modules, the camera will shift. Now you'll see the crane there, it's setting all those modules. Lots of tarps to keep the rain out, and then they build a roof on it. Obviously this video ended, they're not quite done. They still have scaffolding out there putting up all this stucco, but this building is complete. We were able to visit a building that's being built on this plot of land right here last week while it was still under construction. So we got a little bit of a feel for the quality.
And this type of construction can be seismic, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. One of the, well, here, let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages. I'll talk a little bit more about the structure. So advantages: modular, shorter on-site construction duration, perhaps 2 to 3 months. Building is constructed in the factory simultaneously with us putting all the utilities and grading the site and building pad. Less expensive factory efficiencies, less time on the building site offset the higher delivery costs, the trucking cost. Less noise and disruption to neighbors due to factory fabrication. And if you're into green construction, less construction waste. So, disadvantages. Buildings are typically boxy looking. So let's go back here to, this is kind of what you can expect. It's there's not a lot they can do with building aesthetics. We can add things on to make it a little better, but it's not a bad looking building. But if you compare that to something like this, which has a little more character, that's one of the trade-offs. So just be aware of that. Try not to show this video again. Okay. Apartment floor plans are limited due to module size and framing restrictions. We can get about a 13 to 14 foot width on a flatbed truck, especially if it's getting delivered from Idaho over mountains. So that kind of limits the maximum size of the rooms you can have. A small number of architects and contractors that are familiar with modular construction. It limits our pool, and these guys are pretty busy right now, and that concerns me a little bit if we go down that path, that we may have to get in line. Modular factories in high demand. It's actually a little difficult to get them to return our phone calls, to be honest with you. Need very close coordination between the architect, modular fabricator, and the site installation contractor, because once they come out to site, they're difficult to change, and we saw some instances of that when we were walking the site. We had one floor that was a little higher than the other module, and so they had to kind of put a very slight ramp inside one of the apartments. There's really no way to solve that once you get it out there, but
Oh, my
it
gosh.
wasn't a gross thing. I'm sure whoever has that apartment's going to get used to it, but it's just harder to fix those things if it's built in the factory. And public contract needs to be geared towards modular construction. Public contract code requires competition, so basically we'd have to go about it a little bit different to get a modular contractor on board as opposed to just conventional construction. Project budget, pro forma, we did develop a model that we can start plugging assumptions into. These are the assumptions we used. Construction would be complete summer of 2021. It's aggressive, I will say that right now. It's possible if we get cooperation from all the parties involved that we could deliver it by 2021. And that'll certainly be our goal unless we know differently. This mix of units, that's right out of the EHP study for 48 units, would total about 46,000 square feet of building. Construction must comply with prevailing wage rates. That's connected to the use of public funds. Project would be exempt from affordable housing fees. That's about $48 per square foot if we weren't exempt from them. The requirement, the city is passing an ordinance this month to make that requirement. 10% of the units would need to be rented to tenants who earn 70% of the adjusted median income for Marin County. Okay. All of your rents are going to be below that, so we need to make the argument that we would be exempt from that from a number of different directions. If you do the math, that'd be about $2 million if we were subject to that. So I'm pretty sure we want to hit that hard and make sure that we get that exemption. Simple assumption on financing, 60% of the project, 5% interest, 30 years, and we got to research that more. And district would fund 40% of the project. These are just our initial assumptions we plugged into the pro forma. So you have some decisions to make. This is the budget I came up with for 48 units. This is higher than what the EHP presented in their report. That's the first thing I noticed in their report. I thought that was a little bit unrealistic, especially considering they were also proposing underground parking and everything. So this is the budget that I would recommend we start working towards, and hopefully we'll do better. We'll definitely try to do better. Upper right, forecast market rents for year 2021 figure it's going to be about $3.86 per square foot. So with conventional construction, 60% financed, $16 million of it. 40% district, that'd be $10,700,000 of district funds, likely your general obligation bond funds. And with that, we'd be able to break even with a rental rate of $2.25 per square foot, which is 41.8% below market rate. So if your target's 30%, then we certainly have some cushion there to change some of the assumptions that you want. Type of financing, amount of district contribution. Modular, I think we'd save about $1.5 million. Would improve our break-even rental rate of about 45% below market rate. So that gives us a little more cushion. But as I mentioned, we do have to decide which way to go to move forward. Project timeline, district direction on conventional versus modular. Hopefully before the end of the year, you can decide that for us. And then we would go about getting an architect based on that decision. Hopefully get them on board by the end of January. Complete the planning entitlement submission. There's a checklist of all the drawings and everything the architect has to do, so try to get that done by the end of March. Take a year to get the entitlements and CEQA. That's California Environmental Quality Act. City has jurisdiction on that. Could take up to a year, but 7 months, hopefully with enough leverage and interest from those who make those decisions, we could get that accelerated. Complete the construction documents. We'll have a good head start on it just with the plan submission. But by the end of February 2020, hopefully have construction documents. Complete the plan review and permitting, about 4 months for that. The city wasn't sure how to go about a modular approval. Actually, who has jurisdiction over modular approval, the actual construction of the modulars is the state housing community development from the state. So they would basically, we would basically contract out to a third-party inspector to inspect those modules. They'd submit the report to the city. They show up, the city inspects them, getting attached, hooked up, and then all the site work and the roof, that's under city jurisdiction. So we have to have those conversations. Contractor selection, I said to be determined because it really depends on which way we go, okay? If we go conventional, that'll happen later in the process. If we go modular, that'll happen earlier in the process. So once again, that hinges on a decision on convention versus modular. Complete construction, aggressive, but summer of 2021 is possible. Next steps, choose conventional or modular. Establish scope of services for the architect based on construction type. Finalize our request for qualifications, proposal for architectural services, interview and select an architect. The other thing we can start doing right now that I didn't put on there is explore financing options, because that plays heavily, very heavily into the pro forma. And with that, any questions, comments, direction?
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Do we have any questions or comments for?
Yes, let's start with questions and comments, and then later I'd like to hear from you your thoughts on modular versus conventional, as we do need to start moving in a direction to make a recommendation for that.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm reviewing your pro forma. I know you broke out the costs for the conventional route. What's the cost if you did the extra 10 for the modular route?
Yeah, so takes a little studying here. If you go about a little over halfway down the page, I give it a cost for 48 units and a cost for 58 units. It's right there at the fold line, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Go down, so 31.4 million if we did 58 units. Now, if you did them now, it'd be less than if you did that as a next phase, right? Economy of scale. Yeah. But right now, this is what I believe it'd be for if you chose to do 58 units.
Or I'm asking if you did the modular approach, if you added the extra 10, would the cost be like kind of in correlation to like the savings for that?
It'd be proportionate.
Okay.
Probably, I estimated that you'd save $1.5 million by going conventional, so maybe 1.8 million if you went modular.
And so the 31.4 versus 27 for conventional, is that assuming that you would do it all at one time, or is that assuming that you would do one round and then later on do a second round?
Excellent question. It would be all at one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any comments or questions? No? I had a question about the timeline. I don't know if I missed it, but I see the savings being almost $1 million between the two options. So I'm guessing that modular would be less time to build. What is the timeline of modular? If we were to choose modular, what does that look like versus conventional?
Yeah, probably 2 to 3 months. So this timeline would be a lot easier if it was modular. If you really wanted to get them done by the summer of 2021, modular would help us there. But then again, it's the availability of the modular contractors. You know, we could exhaust that just waiting to get our place in queue with the factory. So we've done a lot of modular school buildings, and it works. It's real quick. I know we're helping you with one right now, and the buildings go up in a hurry, and they're built high quality in the factory at the same time we're doing the site work. So we built 2-story schools that way as well, and I'm a fan of it for its simplicity and its cost. Not as an architect, I'm not really a fan of it for its aesthetics, to be honest with you, but interior classrooms, they're just as nice. The apartments, I'm not that familiar with modular. It's kind of a newer thing. But Bernie and Julie could weigh in as well on their thoughts about the quality of what they saw.
I was going to ask you, can we go see what one of those looks like?
In San Leandro?
Is it exactly the closest one?
Yes, the one that we saw was right across the street from the San Leandro BART station.
Okay, so you saw that.
There is a modular hotel that came up overnight in South San Francisco. I can get that address to you so you can drive by and look at it. And some other modular housing complexes, we can get those addresses to you. We wouldn't be able to go into any where they have residents because that's their living space. We can't go in there. So, but you can get a sense of what they can look like. I was impressed with the durability of the building. I thought it would be a little bit flimsy. I have walked through many apartment buildings where you feel yourself bouncing as you're walking down the hall. You don't get that sense in these modulars, partly because you have a ceiling and a floor that are on top of each other, so that's twice as wide. And also between units, you have 2 walls as well, so that helps with the noise that I know have been issues in apartments where I've lived or have had friends live. I didn't, that's what I was looking for as I was walking around. I was stepping hard and trying to get that sense of, how durable is this, and I was impressed with how durable it was. Again, Mr. Kramer did mention that there isn't a lot you can do with customizing, but I think that's more of an issue when you're building a single-family home or, maybe 2 units. When you're building multi-family homes, you're not going to get, they're pretty much going to all be the same anyway, not much customizable, so I'm okay with that trade-off. I am excited about the possible savings, both on time and on funds.
Yeah.
And I'm also slightly concerned with, this is, we're in a building boom in the Bay Area. So I think it's going to be a wait either way to get a contractor that can build conventional or to get a contractor that can build modular. I think there's lines on both sides. Our experience has been so far that it's hard to get contractors, regardless of how we're building. But there are some possible, if we can get in line for that, I think it could be possible because you can secure that early on. So I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on either route. What are the considerations that you're thinking about? We would like to make a recommendation based on your conversation to the board at the next board meeting on that, based on your inclinations. I think we can get a good-looking building, the building that we saw. I thought it looked good. It looked like an apartment building, but that's what it was. Yeah, they had their lobby was much nicer because that was a site-built lobby. It was the same level as their garage. But the senior housing development also had a common space that looked really nice as well. That wasn't built. That was built modular.
So when they talk about 700 square feet for an apartment for one bedroom, what do you get besides the one bedroom? Not your kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Is there a living room?
Well, we don't have the architects, but Mr. Kramer could speak about this. The ones that we observed, it was a kitchen, a small dining space, a living room, and a bedroom and a bathroom. Now, the one that we got to see was for senior housing, so the bathrooms were all ADA accessible. So they were like 3 times larger than any bathroom I've ever seen in an apartment. I was like, this could be a bedroom, you know, and because it was so large, you can easily fit a twin bed in there and be able to turn it. Which is much larger than any bathroom I've seen in an apartment.
I have a couple questions.
So
Oh, go ahead.
the only other question I would have right now is that if we were to be building this, and let's say it's done this year, I mean, I'm just pretending, okay, we already started, what would the rates be? What would the rent rate be if this was already done, like now?
Yeah, so what I did on the bottom of the top part of the pro forma, did a little market rental rate analysis. 2018 for a market rate per square foot is $3.64. You know, do the math for the size of the apartment. And then what I did to get to the 386 for 2021 is escalated 2% compounded per year. And so you could back the per square foot rent using convention construct $2.25. You could back that down 2% a year and then take that times the square footage. So I know I
Help me,
gave
just
you
tell
a
me how much this
formula.
is for the rent.
Yeah. So let's,
Less,
let me get my
okay. So
calculator.
30% less than what you have here?
That's what our goal is.
Is that what it is? Okay, so somebody do the math. I'm too tired. You have a math teacher downstairs?
700 square feet
Yeah.
at $2 a square foot, about 1,400.
1,400.
Oh, you're so good. Okay. So that would be that, right? Okay, then that's good. Yay.
I'm embarrassed to say I have a Stanford engineering degree,
You
but couldn't
answered
do
it.
that math.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to be sure that we're doing all this, that it will be as affordable as possible.
And I think what these units would be most attractive to the segment of our current staff and certainly our future staff are those who are looking for a new place to move into. Because the rents that they can garner in the area are so high that in comparison, while we think it's high to pay $1,400 for a one bedroom, it really is like almost half the price of what you would need to pay at any of the local apartment complexes. So somebody who has stable housing may not think this is a great idea or interesting, but for someone who doesn't have stable housing, is looking for housing,
That's right.
this is a very attractive option.
I just want to be sure, because I want to make sure we do this. Sometimes you look at it and it gets more expensive later. So, okay.
I had a couple of questions, Mr. Kramer. What schools do we have that you're building? You mentioned that you were building some modular schools for us?
Yeah, we're building the Gen 7s at,
Oh, okay, okay. And is this the same company that you're trying to contact? Okay. Got
no,
it.
they specialize in schools.
Oh, okay.
It's a little different. Schools, obviously schools have to be a much greater quality of seismic construction. than apartments do. So these companies kind of specialize in what they do. So all of our modular contractors I'm used to working with just do schools.
And you said Fernando and what? Where else? What?
So thoughts around modular versus traditional built?
I'll start. So having gone to college and actually studied city planning and like construction stuff, I think the modular approach is the best approach, just primarily because I think a couple of reasons from the presentations. One, from your budget. If you could go back to the budget slide for a second.
Sure.
You mentioned the savings on the market rate, so it'd be 44.8%, so close to 45%, which is lower than the other one. Secondly, you could do the same exact services for a lower cost as well too. And kind of like understanding that down the road that rent could go higher, but it also could go lower. I still feel like that a lower percent mark below market rate is still more advantageous for teachers and staff just down the road if it does go lower. There's one that I think modular approach is like a much more greener approach, especially kind of presenting how our school district try to be more greener, more environmentally friendlier, and it's kind of an example of how we can teach our students about being more green construction and green friendly. I think that's another approach. And I think it also third, it helps speed up the timeline. I think that's a better approach, especially we don't know what's going to happen down the road. If there's a way that we can sort of kind of make headway into some of those aspects, I think that would be a great thing. So yeah, so I like the modular approach.
This is new to me, so I can't comfortably say that I like it. I do like that it is more cost efficient. I feel like I've been in that hotel in South City. Is it the Loft? Because that
No,
looks
it's
like...
not. It's getting built now.
Oh,
It's not
okay,
The Loft's
okay.
in Millbury, I think.
I think the loft is like
It looks
It
modular,
looks
right?
modular, but it was
Oh, it was.
conventional
They did
built.
that on
Yeah,
purpose.
It used to be
Okay.
the Clarion.
Yeah. Wow. So my only concerns are basically what you stated, that we have to work with the state to do this, that the city doesn't know how to navigate this type of build, and that the company you're trying to contact isn't contacting you back. So those were my...
There's multiple companies. If we, we'll get their attention.
Once we have a project that we want to do, we get better callbacks like, I want to learn what you do and how you build this. You know, they don't like to give information unless they know that there's a possible sale at the other end.
And the FDR and the Fernando ones are in construction right now, or?
The Fernando one is.
Okay.
It's a four classroom building and a set of bathrooms being built right there on the schoolyard. If you come to the district office, you can see it off the parking lot there.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing I'll add is once we get an architect on board who has these relationships, we'll leverage that heavily as well.
Okay. That was all I had.
I'm just wondering, did you say we already started building it on Fernando? What is this, apartment building already?
No, it's just 4 classrooms.
Oh, four classrooms.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you say classrooms. I was saying, what?
But they're not on top of it.
No, it's a single-story 4-classroom building. You almost can't see it. You can't tell.
Also-
And it just showed up overnight. I mean, it wasn't there one day, and then the next day they were on the field, and then the next day they were there. You know, they were all put together.
Okay, I
Also,
get
that
it now.
geotech work that we're doing at FDR, it's for that classroom wing of the 4 classrooms.
So that's
And
built
they're
the
all
same
the,
way.
the larger size, of course, so they had to be delivered,
Yeah.
in those pieces. But FDR doesn't have them yet.
Okay, all right, I was trying to listen to it, what?
Are you looking at modular or
Well,
conventional?
I'll tell you the truth, when I look at the pictures, I like the other ones better. They look like a real house. They look like a real apartment. But when I hear all this other stuff, it is cost effective, as long as they're not gonna build it with that little lump, right? That you talked about? No lumpies.
We're limited to 36 feet high under R3 zoning.
Okay.
Even with modular, you can site build components of it to give it more aesthetics. that's a budget decision, frankly. And I'm sure our architect will give us some ideas there as well.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just talking about what you said about that bump.
Oh, yeah, the floor bump. Yeah, that was something that we pointed it out to the
Oh,
the superintendent.
Yeah, you said it- a ramp.
Ms. Kessler found it. She's
Yeah.
like, wait, there's a little raised
because it was
bump there.
uneven.
Yeah,
So
I don't want to see uneven
they were going to try to fix it. I don't know how they were going to do it, but they were.
Well, I'm
they
just
were-
saying, is for us, we don't need that,
we don't
right?
want that.
No.
You're going to make sure it doesn't happen again? No. Okay.
I apologize. I thought you meant, some of these,
One additional thing to know about is that the city is already considering at least one, perhaps two other modular projects if we decide to go modular before us. So we will not be inaugurating their process. We would be coming in after at least one, possibly two projects that are being proposed right now.
Okay, all right. Well, again, if I had my choice, if we had the money, I'd like the other, but because it's least expensive and without the ramp, I would say go with the modular too, you know. And I was just wanted to see if I could go see one that's already built, and you can tell me which one I
Yeah,
can
we'll
go
get
to.
you some addresses, yeah.
Because somehow 700 square feet seems awfully small. And I just want to make sure that people who are living there are going to be happy, and they can fit a bed and a dresser. I just can't imagine. I have
Well-
a bigger house, I guess.
Without Elvis paraphernalia and stuff, then we should be fine.
Wait, what'd you say?
Without a special room for Elvis and
Oh, well, no.
all those trees, then most people don't have.
I mean, I like space, you know? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but it just kind of sounded
Yeah,
small
many-
to me, so,
700 is pretty standard, if not large, for a one-bedroom.
okay.
650 tends to be standard, 625.
Even when we rented an apartment, it was huge, so I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so I will say that of the two, financially, I guess the modular will be good. So,
Trustee Ali?
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on the modular, but so I don't really have a preference, to be honest with you. Aesthetically, as you know, Ms. Brizuela said, I liked the conventional construction, but I do. I understand the waste if they're cutting things down on site. I know about that. So, but anyway, if we weren't going modular, we would go conventional anyway. So I don't have a preference.
Thank you. I'm pro-modular for a variety of reasons that have already been shared from Trustee Koo, but I do also share the concerns that have been shared by Trustee Manio with regards to costs and other issues. And I am concerned about the waiting period, because when we look at it being a savings while we're waiting, if we don't secure a modular architect, if we were to go that way, we end up not really saving at all, or it would actually decrease our savings. Because to me, I mean, savings in any way to ensure that we can bring down any kind of rent or any of those costs, I would love to ensure that we pass that on to our staff that will be calling this home. I too don't like how it looks compared to conventional, but I will say I'm a proponent, because back home, we've created homes out of containers on our property, and they've worked well. And instead of them being dumped in the Pacific Ocean, not making it to China where they were supposed to be sent back, we have 4 on our property, and we've turned them into homes, and they work well in 110 degrees. So that's why I'm a big proponent, because it's a savings to all, and we're reusing a lot of times we're reusing materials in modular projects. So I'm down with modular, but the more information, the better. I am concerned about the timeline of securing an architect.
Let's say that we look into this in the next couple of weeks, and let's say if it's going to add more than 6 months or 8 months to go modular than we anticipated, we should just go conventional at that point. So does that sound reasonable? Like, if it looks like we can't get it anything, like if it's going to add another 6 months to a conventional's time.
and we have to remember that the longer it takes to get this thing built, even though it sounds like it's really easy, we're going to still lose teachers that can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
The sooner we get this accomplished, then we're going to meet that goal of trying to help the teachers that can't afford to stay. So that's the big issue that I see too.
So we'll look into this in the next couple of weeks and try to get some better estimates from the modular suppliers and see where we can get in. There's several in the States. There's one on Mare Island, which is local. And there's the one in Idaho, and there's others as well. So the Mare Island is probably the greener one because the things have to travel not as far. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or you can see. I can send you a video so you can see them getting built, get their factory. I don't think they let people walk onto into their factory. They
We'll
just
wear a hard
basically
hat.
they've taken their hangars, their airplane hangars, and converted them into a modular factory. So they're repurposing that as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Appreciate
You're
your time.
welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
And Ms. Kessler is on her way to a conference in Monterey, so she needs to be there tonight. So she's heading
Safe
out right now.
travels.
Are you driving? You're driving?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
driving.
Drive carefully. Oh.
Happy holidays. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone. We're now moving on to our scheduling of board reports. And I just want to jokingly say, Mr. Koo, you cannot go first this time.
I was actually going to offer to go first this time, actually.
So the board will discuss and schedule reports at upcoming board meetings for members who attend the 2018 CSBA Annual Education Conference, which is coming up November 29th through December 1st. And the dates that we are considering for the next meetings, we're looking at December 12th for a presentation, January 23rd for 2 presentations, and February 13th for 2. So I believe we're all attending.
February, what day in February?
13th?
13th, I didn't hear you say that.
I believe we're all attending, so the floor is open for whoever would like to take on those presentations on those dates. I know,
I'll take
trustee.
January.
Oh, that's the one
January?
I wanted to.
Okay, so we've got 2 for January. January is gone. Got February, 1 left, December.
I could do December. Would you like December instead?
I'd like December, but I will pass it to
Sure.
you in the spirit of the holidays. That's my gift to you. All right, we're set.
So the 2 of you are on December
So,
12th?
Yes, trustee Manio and I will be in February, and trustee Koo will take it on December 12th. Thank you. That was easy. That was good. We now call for nominations for CSBA Subregion 5B Delegate Assembly, and the administration recommends that the board considers nominating local board members for CSBA Subregion 5B Delegate Assembly, and the nomination packets are due to the superintendent no later than November 29th for consideration at the December 12th board meeting. And this is submitted for us for informational purposes tonight. So our hope is that
Do we don't have the paperwork yet, though.
I'm sorry.
We don't have the paperwork yet.
Yeah, so there's 3 vacancies for this upcoming term. There should be in your backup packet. I forget exactly who they are. They may decide that they want to run again, but this is an opportunity to nominate folks for these delegate positions. And again, as always, we vote. I think it's February or March timeline is when we get all the nominees and we vote for, each board gets to vote for 3 delegates.
Thank you. Do we have any comments on that? The hope is that we would get that in, which is less than 2 weeks.
Mr. Koo, do you know who the 3 are?
I believe the 3 are Carrie Dubois
Oh,
from
Carrie.
Sequoia Union High School District,
Davina Drapkin from Burlingame.
and Kevin Martinez.
Kevin Martinez from San Bruno, yeah.
So that's in here, their names?
Yeah, those are the 3 that are currently serving and whose terms expire in April. And they may or may not elect to be renominated, but there's always an opportunity to nominate other folks. I do ask that you get the permission of the person that you're nominating.
Right.
And they do have to provide some information, so you can't nominate them secretly. So
That's an important
yeah,
point.
there is an application packet attached to your agenda that you can use to speak with a colleague.
Yes, thank you. All right. So we are now moving on to, we did have a change in our agenda. We are now moving on to our curriculum adoption timelines and processes and ethnic studies updates. Thank you, Ms. McCooley.
Yes, so I'm going to invite Jessica Pace, our Teaching and Learning Program Director, and Greg Concert, our Principal and Special Assignment, or Vice Principal and Special Assignment in the Teaching and Learning Department. Do you want me to turn on the?
Just a moment, yeah. We're so happy to be here tonight.
Thank you for joining
be able
us.
to do some updates on what's happening in curriculum. With us tonight, we have most of our members from the Teaching and Learning Department. We have our signs indicating which schools they're working at. Each of our instructional support teachers is supporting 2 school sites this year. Greg and I, along with Sandy, have had an opportunity to go through and visit all of our schools, seeing almost all of our classrooms, and we want to share with you some of the photos and videos that we've taken of our students and our teachers as they begin to implement some of the new programs that we've adopted here. So we'll show you a video.
One of the strengths of the Bridges Matters is that this program allows the students the opportunity to explain their thinking. In thinking of the transition units that we used last year, we were trying to get students to talk because whoever's doing the talking is doing the thinking. And the transition to Bridges has been beneficial because the lesson guide provides a script of what the teacher could say and the student can say.
Hey, Nathaniel, can I put this on the bottom so it goes back?
We need cars. Greater than.
Oh, this is okay.
Okay.
The instructional support teachers of Jefferson Elementary School District are a wonderful resource to have on a site because administrators don't know the details of the programs, and we can refer our amazing teachers to excellent and vetted teachers who have had all of this training to then work actively to go through the complex number corner in Bridges, the many different units of study in Writer's Workshop, and really delve deep without any fear of evaluation if they don't know anything. We administrators always tell our staff, come to us with questions, but of course sometimes people feel a little bit self-conscious with that. So it's wonderful to have independent, expert teachers that are available as resources for the general faculty of all of our schools.
We want our students to see themselves in the pages of history and literature.
So we were hoping to show in this video was for you to see the implementation of all the curriculum, all the new curriculum that we have in the district this year. We have new math, new ELA at the middle school level, and new math at the elementary school level. And we also wanted you to see the beginnings of our adoption committees for middle school history and K through 5 ELA. And some of the documents that I think were shared with you show that these committees were also looking at these programs through the lens of diversity and trying to find stories and literature that the kids could relate to and see themselves in.
Thank you for letting us come out tonight. We're so proud of our team and the work that they're doing to support our teachers and students.
Thank you. Thank you. We have comments and sharing some more.
Well, you mentioned in part of this about ethnic studies. Could you explain what that is, how it's being presented?
Sure. A while back we had talked about moving forward with adopting some curriculum to support ethnic studies here in Jefferson Elementary School District. And in your packet, there's actually a memo from the state talking about the work that they're going to be doing with forming a committee and putting together model curriculum for kindergarten through 12th grade. So we figured we'll wait and see what that curriculum looks like and then get a team of teachers together to determine how we're going to implement that in Jefferson.
Great. Thank you.
Trustee Ali?
So I saw something about inclusion specialists. Yes. How many do we have, and can you talk a little bit more about what they do?
Sure. We have 2 inclusion specialists for the district. They each support half of the schools in our district, and they are working with gen ed teachers as well as RSP teachers and special day class teachers to help modify our core curriculum to make sure that all of our students have access to Common Core state standard curriculum. And they've been working really closely, particularly right now with our RSP teachers, and really working on a push-in model and putting together resources so that students can access particularly our new programs.
Thank you. Thanks. Trustee Koo, Trustee Manio, any questions or comments or feedback?
I did, just to piggyback a little bit on Trustee Brucewella's question. Was there a timeline that the state gave you for that, for the ethnic studies?
The memo is, I believe, in your packet, and it talks about them establishing the committee now, and by end of April of 2019, they hope to have some kind of timeline of when the actual model curriculum will be available for California school districts to begin to access.
Okay, that's great. So probably most of it will be done in the next school year.
I believe so.
Yeah, because you're kind of, by April, May, it's kind of like graduation time. So, But that's great, as long as it's all ready to go. Perfect, thank you.
One of the questions or perspectives that we want to be especially keen to is that we serve in a district that is very diverse culturally, and there is no real. There are some groups that are larger than others, but there's no classroom really where you just have two cultures represented. Many of our classrooms have upwards of 5 different cultures and languages even represented in them. And how do we implement a curriculum that is, as that one slide said, I forget what it said, we're all the same, where we appreciate our differences or something like that, where we can appreciate and celebrate each other's cultures at the same time as being proud of and representing our own cultures. And I think that some of the ethnic studies curriculums that I have seen have been one culture, whether it's African American or Latino or Filipino or Pacific Islander, that I haven't yet to see one that's multicultural celebration and really gets students excited about their own culture, which is the purpose of an ethnic studies curriculum, but also the cultures of their classmates and their schoolmates. And so that's what we're looking at and what we want to push, these pilot committees to design. We are unique in the state of California in the sense that us and maybe some other urban areas have that diversity. Many of the districts in California have primarily one ethnic group, sometimes 2 ethnic groups represented, and we have easily, I don't know, what would you say, language-wise, I think we have like upwards of 30 languages represented in our schools. So we want to create something that works for our kids and everybody feels included and a part. And we realize that the standard curriculum doesn't do that either. The standard curriculum is not inclusive. It doesn't represent stories from our families and our cultures, and that's what we want to have throughout the curriculum.
Thank you. It's hard not to be emotional with this. I'm so proud of all of you that have really given of yourselves. It's evident in the work that you do and the energy that I feel when I interact with you, seeing the video. I mean, education is, we all know, is an equalizer. And when we are inclusive in the process and we provide access, and for me, being a mother of a special needs child, it's so important to see that we have our inclusion teachers there. Because when you create that aha moment and the opportunity to look at what the state has available, but I already know that everyone's bubbling with ideas. It's something that we've talked about for a long time here, and I haven't been on the board that long. But to know that those things can come to fruition, because those are what awaken a lot of the suppressed learning moments that a lot of our students that struggle to identify their learning, willingness or just connectivity to that. And to know that you guys are working on that, we're looking forward to it. We've been waiting for it. But I just want to say thank you. I really do. I don't think each of you hear thank you. You hear thank you enough. And as a parent of children of this district and just being here on the board, I'm just filled with gratitude to see the pride that you put in the work that you do, because it transfers onto us and it transfers onto the children that go home and light their parents up to see what they've learned. And I just don't know how to show my gratitude as a parent and a person of this community, but I just say, God bless each of you that you find the strength and wisdom to continue to do it again and again. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments too, because I've always felt that every child can learn, no matter what. Every child can learn, as long as we give them the opportunity and the skills, and they'll all be successful. But thank you for sharing that. There is a movie on TV about the Good Doctor or something, and it's amazing to think, here's a person that probably years ago would have been locked in a closet or told they're never going to be anything, and to bring that out for people to see it, I think it makes you know, I can do it. I can do it. And that's what we have to keep telling our students over and over. Thank you for all being engaged. because I love it.
Thank you. Now we move on to our local control accountability plan, and it's our local measure review and review of district goals. And so thank you, Ms. McCulick. Thank you all.
I
Happy
obviously
holidays.
switched so that they could get out of here early. So.
Thank you.
So, and I see it's approaching 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. This is a requirement to have you hear the results of some of the measures and metrics for the local control accountability plan. I have to submit it by Friday, so we do need to get this in today. So moving right along, just to, Trustee Manio, I want to make sure that you're in the loop on what we've been doing. So a lot of these slides, many of you have seen, but just to orient you to the LCAP, which is the Local Control Accountability Plan. It's our accountability plan. Every district is required to disclose how they're spending their local control funding formula funds. Within the plan, there's really 3 big buckets or 3 areas or priority. There are 10 priorities, 8 for the districts, 2 extra for the county offices, but they fall under 3 categories of conditions of learning, pupil outcomes, and engagement. And so with the LCAP or with the Local Control Accountability Plan, there's really 2 buckets of funding. There's the base grant, which is the general fund, and that mainly funds all of the staff, classroom teachers, custodians, all of the salaries for general operations of the district, and then facilities, et cetera. So that's the big pocket of money. And then we have the local control funding formula supplemental and concentration grant funds. We get additional funds that are supposed to be towards improving services for students such as English learners, children performing below grade level, low income, foster youth, et cetera. And so those funds, they need to go just towards improving services for those students. So districts, the state of California created a dashboard, which is a way to monitor and hold districts accountable. And so this is, I think, our 2nd or 3rd year that we're seeing the dashboard, and they've actually updated it. So it used to be these little pie charts, these colored pie charts, and they are moving it to more like a meter. The colors are the same, the metrics, how they calculate it, it's the same, but they wanted it to be, they think that this is more user-friendly or visible for families. And so they've really actually kind of made it harder for school districts to actually glean anything from it, but it's really just kind of a snapshot. So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I've just captured these images from trainings I've received, but they haven't released it yet because we have to upload stuff first, and then they'll be releasing. This is actually, the color coding is for the state performance areas, but there are local performance areas that I need to share with you tonight in order to meet those objectives. But you can see that there are 5 performance areas for the state, but only 3 for the local, and I'll explain those in a second. So the way they get the color coding is they have this grid where the far left side here is looking at the status, so where you fall, so it's a rate of, say, suspension rate, or it's the distance from meeting standard on the CASP assessment. So you have your status for the year, and then they do year-to-year comparisons. So they look at the current year to the previous year, what was the change? Did you decline significantly? Did you decline a little bit? You maintained, you increased, or you increased significantly? And so then that's how you look where you fall in your status, you look where you fall in your change, and that's how you get your color. So you can see that's how the colors come. This is a simplified version. If you want more, you can go onto the state website as well. So the local indicators, which is really the purpose of tonight, I have to submit this by November 16th that I have actually shared this with you. There were 4 local indicators last year. There are now 5, and I'll go into detail about those. But the whole idea of meeting standard is that it's not about the results. They want to know, did we look at the results and share it with you? If we did that, we met standard. We met. So just by presenting tonight, we have met the requirement. Because they just want to make sure that locally we're looking at the data, we're analyzing it, we're making plans. So you can see here, there's 6 state indicators. 2 of those indicators are related only to the high school district. Since we're a PK8 district, they don't apply to us. This one indicator here, priority 7, they actually moved to a local indicator. They used to lump it together, so they moved it here, so it became a new local indicator for us. So if you look at the priority 1 basic conditions, that's what we get out of our school accountability report card that we're required to do every year. Make sure we have high quality teachers, no one's misassigned, our facilities are in good repair, and that we have textbook sufficiency for students. The next one is, this is a survey that we gave to our instructional leadership team. And so it's looking at, are we implementing the standards? Are we giving professional development for teachers in all these different content areas? And I'll show you more detail in a moment. The priority 3 and priority 6, parent engagement and school climate, that's the surveys we're actually administering right now to students, staff, and families. And then this last one is new to us this year, but it's a self-assessment. Do students have access to a broad course of study? Does everyone have access to the core curriculum? So, as I said before, it's not based on how we did, it's based on whether we reported the results. So, by reporting them tonight, we meet the standard, we meet the progress indicator. So for the first priority, as I said, it was a school accountability report card. And so then you can see the analysis that we had. All of our teachers are highly qualified. All students have access to the standards aligned materials. We had one instance of fair repair, which was there was painting at Thomas Edison and one of the windows wouldn't open and then they fixed it. So at the time that they went through to do the assessment of the facilities, that wasn't working, so they had to mark it as fair. But it has since been fixed. So by reporting this to you, we have met this. So priority 2 was a self-reflection tool that we gave to our instructional leadership team, which is all site administrators and district administrators. It is teacher leaders from every school site as well. And so we went through this tool, and it was asking, what rate the professional development that is offered in all of these content areas, and then it's, are we in the full implementation phase? Are we in the research and exploration phase? And so you can see in our ELA, ELD, and math, we're in the initial and full implementation phase. And then science and history, we're in exploration and research with a lot of the areas. And then you can see in the backup that I have all the information, so if you want to go into detail, I'm just giving you highlights tonight. So by doing this survey and sharing it with you tonight, we met. Parent engagement, this is because of the timing of this, the survey we're giving now, we don't have the results yet, so you're seeing last year's results. And so our goal is always to increase family engagement on the survey and to maintain the ratings that we have from the previous year. And so we're always monitoring, and school sites are monitoring the responses from families in order to better serve our students. And so this is just showing you that we are doing these surveys and that we are analyzing them. Oops, I went too far. School climate, same thing. This is looking at student results. And so we focused on safety to highlight with you today. But you can see it is broken down by student group of 3rd through 5th grade, 6th through 8th grade. They get different surveys. And then also families, and then we have a survey to staff. So you can just see the overall, all the different stakeholders. We do not collect the ethnicity of our staff. It's an anonymous survey. We want it anonymous, so we don't collect that. But you can see by student group and by ethnicity the responses for safety of the campus. But we also get a lot more information from the survey, but this one is focused on safety. And so we analyze it by site, we look at the responses, and then we make some action plans for it. But this report is just saying that we do collect a survey, we do hear from our stakeholders, and we do make an action. And so by doing that, we meet our requirement. And then this new one here, the San Mateo County Office of Ed has given us a self-assessment tool to help us determine, are all of our students in broad course of study, in the adopted curriculum? And so, yes, they are. We've looked through the master schedule. We've looked at all the courses students are assigned to, and then we also determine what are some possible barriers to some of the areas like visual and performing arts and world language courses. And some barriers for students not being enrolled in those kinds of courses is sometimes it's just funding for staff, as well as you need a credential. It's in the middle school. If you're teaching that full day, you need a specific credential, and that's also difficult. And so a broad course of study includes things like world language and visual and performing arts. And so we were asked in this priority to determine what are some barriers. And so by doing this analysis and looking and thinking about barriers, we have met the requirement. So you've seen this before as well. This is the annual process. Right now we're reviewing, collecting, and analyzing and reporting on our indicators. And then starting in January and February, we'll be consulting with stakeholders on some actions that we have and see what we need to adjust. And then in March, we'll be coming and prioritizing with stakeholders. And then in April, there will be a draft. In May, we'll have a final draft that needs to be approved by our two required committees, Parent Involvement Advisory Committee, PIAC, and District English Language Advisory Committee, DLAC. And then we'll be coming to you with the drafts as well. And then in June, you will approve the final draft. Along the way, the County Office of Education gives us technical assistance to make sure that by the time it comes to you, they will also approve it after. And then, as I always do, these are all the dates of all the meetings for stakeholder input. So you can see the instructional leadership team meeting one, which January has a little carrot. We invite parent leaders to come to that meeting. That's the one where we put up all the posters of all the actions and ask people to tell us, what should we determine for next year as our plan. And then you can see the board meeting dates. Oops. So just a reminder, we do have 4 goals, and these are the actual language of the goals, but to highlight, it's improving student learning outcomes, providing professional learning opportunities for all staff, building a positive school climate, and promoting community involvement. So next steps, by actually presenting to you tonight, we meet the requirement, so I can submit tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. In time for Friday. And so we just want have you recommend that you acknowledge that you saw the local indicators and saw the progress. We always have the LCAP webpage available for everyone to look at. It's always a work in progress. I'm always updating it. And then we are required to post our 2018-19, our current LCAP, on the main page of the district website. So are there any questions about this process?
Any questions?
What time is the January 8 meeting and where?
The
January 8, the AC meeting?
January 8th is our administrator council meeting. That's the principals. The one that's with parents is January 16th. And that's from 3. It'll be actually from 4:30 to 6, and it's at Ben Franklin.
What's that?
Is it a board meeting? I try not to.
It's not there. 27.
January is always the tricky one for me to figure out when to schedule these meetings. 4:30 to 6.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question about these. So these local indicators you mentioned, 6?
5.
5.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you said that just doing those certain actions met the requirements, and you said that mostly like reviewing, kind of understanding what the results are. Is there like a set plan or like approach on how best to like address some of those issues? Or is it more?
State does not give us a lot of direction on that, but they do give us some templates that we can use. It's locally decided, how you are monitoring those indicators.
Many of those indicators do help inform the LCAP actions, though. And when we use that data, not just to say that we looked at it, but they do help form the actions and activities that we put into the LCAP. And that's part of the section of the LCAP that looks at analysis of data.
You may have also noticed in the single plans that were on the consent agenda that the survey data that we are gathering from families and students and staff are included in the single plans for the site. So all of this information we use to help inform decisions. It's just tonight we're letting you know that we use the data to help inform decisions, and that helps us meet that requirement.
Would you say that the LCAP has been successful for the last couple years?
Can you define what you mean by successful?
Like, we have more control. Is that helping our district?
I don't know how to answer that. I think yes, we have more control of how we spend our funds. I feel like the actual plan is really cumbersome, and a lot of people don't even look at it. It's 200 pages. So it's given district staff a lot more compliance work. But the outcomes of what we're doing and analyzing and evaluating programs has been successful, yeah. I think it's helped us really determine what we really want and what we need to improve.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ms. McCulloch, is there an action they need to take, or do they just, is this acknowledge? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. McCulloch. We acknowledge that we've received your presentation, your fabulous presentation as always. Thank you. All right. We are now moving on to board policies, administrative regulations. And board policies, administrative regulations from July 2018, CSBA board policy revisions, second reading. And the board will review and revise board policy administrative regulations from July 2018, CSBA board policy revisions as stated in second reading. Do we have any discussion or comments for any revisions? And if not, do we have a motion?
Yeah, if we're voting on this, it's part of our policy. We have to go back and revisit that.
And what was the question again?
Okay, this is a second reading, and when we approve it and it becomes part of our policy.
Correct.
Can we go back at any time to revisit it if we find that there's something that we would like to discuss or change?
Yeah, frequently board policies do come back that are not part of the update packet, and when we determine that when there's local discretion to figure out how to meet the requirements, so yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is, can any of us, if we find something that we think needs to be addressed, can we do so?
You may let me.
no?
You may let me or the board president know, and we can plan a time for it to be revisited.
I read it very quickly because of my time frame of my life right now. But I think there's some that I would like to look at a little closely, see that if it is in the best interest of our community.
So is your motion, Ms. Trustee Brusuela, then to
We can go ahead and approve it. I mean, if all of you are in favor of approving it for second reading, yes. But there are some few things I may want to delve into and bring it back to the board. And I just want to make sure that that will be all right with everyone. I'm not saying, well, we already approved it. Okay. A few things stood out to me, but I need to have some more discussion with Bernie and more information. But I don't want to hold up the whole thing.
Sorry to clarify. So would you like, if we want to approve it, would you like us to approve it? Or
I'm gonna approve, I don't mind approving it. I'm just asking, can we bring something back if we say, whoops, we approved it, but maybe we could look at that again, one section or one part of it? That's what I want to make sure that it won't say, well, we already approved it, so we can't look at it.
Yeah, so the beauty of these policies, as you know, is that our legislature is very active and are constantly passing new laws. And so often I feel like, didn't we just approve this 3 months ago? And we did.
Yeah.
But there are updates, and we actually, I think, not in this one, but in the next one, we're actually undoing a policy that we passed back in June because the legislature passed a law that undid that requirement. So
I'm not saying about the law.
No, I'm just saying that it's a frequent thing that we revisit policies. Sometimes they're in the update package, sometimes they're generated because as we implement it, we realize, ooh, that's not really what we meant or what we would like, so we would shift it.
I just want to get a little assurance that I can bring something back.
Is that something that we can ask for at any time, though, just to,
that's what I mean.
to discuss even a new policy that we want to have, or, we don't have to always wait for the CSBA?
Oh, no, of course not. So, yes, if there's a policy that you would like, as any item, you just let the current board president know or me know, and we can discuss when it fits in into a board meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's put that in the minutes.
So it sounds like, do we have a motion then to maybe not approve it and leave it for further discussion? I'm just saying, or do we have a motion, there's two things, or do we have a motion to go ahead and approve it?
Sorry, you're okay with, you're okay.
I'm all right.
So do we have a motion then to, you're okay?
I'm okay if we approve it. I just want to make sure that at any time, and you added to it also, if there's something that we feel, whoops, we approved it, but maybe this doesn't concern something else that we might want to look at. That's all. Because you're right, we always do this just what CSBA tells us. Doesn't mean it always fits our district completely. So, just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, you don't always know the ones that are inserted in there that are generated by practice, or we've updated it because it didn't fit.
Yeah.
There are often times we put them in. And because it's part of that section of the board meeting, you don't know if it's generated by CSBA or it's generated by, it's usually separate and standalone. You have your update packet, and then you have a standalone policy.
Okay, I got my answer.
Thank you. So do we have a motion then to approve?
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve for a second reading, the board policy revisions. I don't even have the numbers, but whatever is here.
We have a second. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Now we have governance team member comments, reports, and reflection on board meeting guidelines. And we will start with you, Ms. Manio.
Sorry. Definitely, I'm choosing the first one, that the focus is on the best interest of our students, not only with this meeting, but with how I walk and talk these days, whether I'm at a PTA meeting or just generally outside in the public. Now, as a elected official, feel that obligation and duty to the citizens and definitely the people who voted for me. So yes, absolutely, keeping the best interests of our students in mind.
Thank you. Trustee Koo?
I selected, we will listen actively and openly, build upon the ideas of others, look for common ground, and paraphrase for understanding. And I thought we did that tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Ali?
Yes, I would like to applaud the work of the Fernando Rivera yearbook class from the PSA that they made. That was amazing. And we will keep our focus on the best interests of our students at all times.
Thank you.
Well, I've been saying that one for how many months now, but I picked that. We will communicate openly and honestly, respect differences, deliberate, and address process I think we did that very well tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And I chose, we will work toward the future, learning from the past. We're always learning, and I believe in positive progress, and I too am glad that our team is intact after the election season and that we're able to move forward and create positive growth. And just very thankful. So we are now moving on to our closed session, but we definitely want to see if there are any persons wishing to address the board on any closed session items. And we do not have anyone wishing to do so, so we will take a short, very, very short break and return in a minute to closed session. Thank you all. Thank you.